You know what? This was better, in my opinion. Much better. Let's get started, shall we?
I don't care. I don't care. Fuck around and find out. I am prepared for it all. Fuck around and find out.
Chill, alright, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done. I'm done. I'll stop, I'll stop, I'll stop, I'll stop. Ow! I'll stop, I'll stop. I'll stop, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done. I'm sorry, just go.
So, I very much think that every episode is going to start out with a flashback from before the apocalypse happened. So, we will pretty much be getting some sort of flashback from before the year 2023 when everything went to hell. Here we are introduced to a woman in Indonesia who is a scientist, and at first they pull her out of a restaurant because it looks like she's being arrested for something, but it turns out she's not being arrested because she is a scientist and a researcher, and the government has pulled her in to basically check out a patient that is currently being experimented on. That's basically the virus, like they called it the Oseocordyceps, and this researcher is basically one of the first to actually witness and assess what this is, and it's really haunting because she winds up telling the guys who took her, she winds up telling them, "Oh, there is no vaccine, there is no cure for this. What you have to do is find the other infected people out there. I know there's few right now, but find them and kill them all." Like, she pulled like an Aerys Targaryen, like the Mad King from Game of Thrones, right? She said, "And if you can't find them, if you can't find the individuals who have been infected and are going around infecting more people, bomb the whole city." And it's haunting as well because she says, "Take me home, I want to be with my family." So she's pretty much going to stay, alluding to the fact that she's going to stay here, even though she just recommended that the military just bomb the entire city in Indonesia. And even here, you can see like how gross and just disturbing it actually is, because you could see a clear bite mark and the fungus growing inside the bite mark. And so it's disturbing and it rattles her. You could see her reaction in this, it rattles her to the point where, again, she basically telling the government to bomb the city, nuke or nuke everyone, or uh just to kill everyone, burn them all. Aerys Targaryen style. This scene, in my opinion, is much better than the scene we got at the beginning of the first episode with these guys just sitting around, just yapping away about the possibility of viruses and shit like that. If we had gotten a scene like this or something like this at the beginning of the first episode, like, I didn't feel that the beginning of this episode was a waste of time because it actually showed an interesting side of uh, the pre-outbreak period, and it's actually a very haunting and compelling little segment with this researcher basically saying, "Hey, drive me home so I could be with my family after I just ordered you to bomb our city." So, yeah, it was really haunting in that sense. Intro credits, no one cares. Now, right from the bat, uh, see, I don't know, maybe the first episode just left a bad taste in my mouth, but overall, this episode is a lot better, in my opinion. We get to see just how faithful this episode is to the game. Now, another thing too, which I have to give this massive, massive praise for, is the production value. I don't know if those buildings are clearly CG, but they look real. They look like real buildings having fallen over each other, and just the set decorations and just the production value overall is really astounding. It really sells that this is America almost 30 years after most of the inlands and most of the states have been pretty much abandoned and run over by these freaking monster things, and uh, the infrastructure has crumbled away, plant life is taking over, and without humans to maintain said infrastructure, it all crumbles down, literally, like you saw that building earlier. Just how destroyed everything looks is just a massive, massive plus. If they didn't get that aspect of this, I don't think we'd be taking it as seriously or it would be selling it that much, but it absolutely does sell me on this, and it's a very good aspect of this show that I really enjoy. And yes, just like in the games, Ellie still doesn't know how to fucking swim. Even here as well, like this is meant to be a hotel lobby, and it is completely flooded. It's all muddy, it's all swampy. It looks like somewhere fucking Shrek would live. Absolute nastiness of how overgrown everywhere has become. It's so good. It's like the production value, the set design, so good. Okay, now this exchange is much better between Joel and Ellie. This is the same type of forced banter that we kind of get at the beginning of the game where they're trying to get to know each other, but they're just that hateful of each other that they can't just go like 5 seconds without insulting each other. And I don't have a problem with that because that's from the game. That's how they were before at the beginning when everything started. So this forced sort of interaction is kind of exactly what they needed to aim for, and they aimed for it, and I think it just landed. Nothing too corny, nothing too out of place. It was pretty well handled, and I appreciate that. I mean, much better acting from Pedro Pascal. Like Pedro Pascal acts more like the Joel in this episode. I don't know what the fuck that was in the first episode, but here I am seeing flashes of in-game Joel. Now, Bella Ramsey, I'm still not quite sold on her, but for what it's worth, in this episode, I think her connection with Joel, it's starting to grow. So, for what that's worth, that's good, and her performance is helping to do that. So now this episode introduces the concept of the roots of the virus, of the fungus spreading underground, and if you so much as step on one of the roots and break it, it'll alert every single monster in the surrounding area to your location, and they'll come find you. Uh, I'm not again, correct me if I'm wrong. I am not sure that was specifically stated in the game, but if it wasn't, then this is absolutely clever, and this is really, really good because I kind of enjoy that sort of them being a hive mind and how even you so much as stepping on one of their roots alerts all of them in a nearby vicinity to your presence. That's actually very scary and very daunting and very haunting in my opinion. And like I said, if it was in the original game, then yeah, well, fuck me and then whatever I just said. But if it wasn't, then yeah, this is a very interesting take. And yeah, I don't think in the game we ever saw them all lying around like this, all like it's like they didn't lie around like that. I think they were always like walking around aimlessly, especially like the runners, because they were humans still actively trying to fight off the infection, and so they wouldn't be lying down. They'd be like walking around and trying to like trying and failing to fight the infection off. But I mean, I think this shot right here like goes to reinforce the idea of like a sort of hive mind. And we'll get to it later because it pays off at the end, in a very particular way. Okay, now this entire sequence is by far and away the highlight of the episode because I just watched this. Well, I finished watching this at around 1-ish a.m. ish, 2-ish. And Watching this at medium volume while everything around you is just dark and fucking it's all quiet, and the only thing you have to hear is the sound of the show coming in through your headphones. It's not very pleasant. It's fucking creepy, if I'm gonna be honest. Just this entire sequence is just shot excellently, and it's like the tension is there. Now, it truly feels as though even just so much as breathing a little too hard, uh, can get you killed by one of these motherfuckers. Like you're hyperventilating. There's a monster over there trying to kill you, and you're just trying to hold your breath in. And if they hear you breathing, they will come for you. And the way this is shot, the way this is executed, the tension is there, and it's palpable. And another thing that's palpable is my fucking heart while watching this shit, because it was just intolerable. I like I almost had to go and turn on my light, but then I decided, hey, don't be a bitch, and let me just keep the light on. I don't know how long it was, like a good 10 minutes of just pure fucking anxiety, because that's how the game felt. Literally, the game, my goodness. I cannot tell you how many times like I've almost shat myself while playing the game. It was just that fucking creepy. And this segment with the clickers sold that aspect of the game completely and to a T, because when you're up against these things, it is nothing but stress and anxiety. It's not a fun, pleasant experience. You are toying with death here. Any screw up, any slip up you make, if you so much as breathe the wrong way, these things will kill you. And the way this is shot and executed makes you feel that 110%. Now, now this looks like a mixture of CGI and practical effects, and I think for the most part it's pretty spot on. I mean, when it's a fucking jump scare, I don't think I can play it, but that thing fucking turns around and just starts screaming at you, and it's fucking like it's shit pants worthy, if you get what I mean. A little bit of trivia: these are a special kind of the infected. It's like the more progressed stage of the infected. It is the stage where the fungus is now growing out of every available orifice in your brain, growing out of your eyes, out of your ears, and to the point where it breaks your skull open and the fungus starts to grow on the top of your head like a hat. Which is why earlier Joel was saying they're blind, but they can fucking hear you. They're blind, like one you could stand in front of them and not like you could be quiet and stand in front of them and they won't see you, they won't touch you. But once they touch you, they're stronger than the average infected. They're much stronger because they have the virus and the fungus all over their body. Like the fungus becomes almost like armor plating, to the point where I think it needs more than a few rounds to put him down. Because in the game you had to go up, sneak up behind them, and then slice their necks open, and that would work. But then shooting them, they're a challenge to take down, and it showcased this very very well, and it's true. They stayed true to it because clickers, again, they're tough to take down, and once they get you, you're dead. Like no cap. Like once they touch you, you're gone. Okay, that was fucking scary as shit. So now we escape. We're out of there. Uh, I think Ellie gets bitten again, but again she's immune, so it does nothing to her. And here, if you've played the game, we know what happens here. But so spoilers ahead. Uh, Here we see Tess pretty much start getting bitchy for like apparently no reason, right? So she's like losing her shit. She's more agitated. She's more irritable. So they make it inside where they were supposed to go, to the museum, and they find that the Firefly team who was meant to take Ellie, has been slaughtered by the infected pretty much, and they tried to fight each other, and in the end they all wound up killing each other, or the infected got to them. In any case, they're all dead pretty much, and so Tess starts losing her shit, and then lo and behold, you find out that she is infected. She got bit during the whole ordeal, and now she truly believes that. Again, at first, at the beginning, they were like doubting her, but after seeing Ellie pretty much get bit and nothing happened to her again, uh, Tess is now a firm believer in that she can potentially be something very, very important, and is now pretty much begging Joel to finish the mission. So one of these motherfuckers just crawls up on them and gets capped immediately by Joel. But then, remember what I said earlier about them being a hive mind? Well, it turns out Joel shot straight through one of the vines, and so the fungus vines start growing onto this guy that just got shot. And now every monster, every infected in the surrounding area, hundreds of them maybe, look at them. They're all just awoken instantly, and they all have an innate sense of where Joel, Tess, and Ellie are, and they're coming for them stat. Like they are hauling ass in their direction. Now, this is where Tess decides to pretty much fucking sacrifice herself in a blaze of glory to give Joel and Ellie time to escape. And this scene is pretty well handled by Pedro Pascal in particular, because he sells Joel and his desire to have a connection with people, but at the same time that reserved sense of duty almost, as in, hey, yeah, this is sad, okay, you're gonna die, and I'd like to hug you, or you know it's sad that you're going through this, but we got to get out of here. Like there's no time for wishy-washy emotions. Like he's been there. It's been 20 years since he's lost his daughter, uh, and things have changed for him. He's not the same man, and right now, as much as he may have known Tess, there is just no time for congeniality. There is no time whatsoever for emotions, and he just gets the fuck out of there. He turns and grabs Ellie literally and pulls her out, and pretty much leaves Tess there because he has to. Now, this entire sequence was just really, really creepy and really, really nice. She dies a little differently than she did in the game, but still, I think here she dies a much more gruesome death, because right before she's struggling to light this match, right? And then this fucking thing out of nowhere pretty much like French kisses her and starts like implanting the cordyceps fungus into her mouth, like by French kissing her. And she's struggling to fucking light this match until she finally does it, and she goes freaking kaboom along with everything inside the building. And well, goodbye, Tess. I mean, yeah, rest in peace. Rip in the chat for Tess. I mean, that's case. Game, set, match. You're donezo, bro. And just like that, the episode ends. In all fairness, this was a much, much better step up from the first episode, because the first episode, I don't know what went wrong with it. I mean, for starters, it was way too long. I'm glad this episode is a bit shorter, but yeah, much better episode. Honestly, more condensed, extremely faithful to the game. The way it's shot, the scenes you go through, like the landmarks from the games and plot points, it's all very faithful to the game, and in all honesty, I mean, there's nothing more you can ask for, just faithfulness to the game. And if you keep going this direction, then I sincerely would be eagerly anticipating what's next to come. Because if the first episode was anything to go by, uh, I'd be a bit dubious about that. But then this episode was just much better, in my opinion. Again, nothing too spectacular, but again, much better episode than the first episode. If I have to give it a score from 1 to 10, I think I gave the first one a 5. I'll probably give this one a solid 8 out of 10. That's how much better it was. So yeah, much better episode. Stay tuned for next week. Peace.